My name is Doak Snead, and I came to Austin in 1973 from San Angelo, Texas, with my band, the Doak Snead Band, and we played around, beginning at the Split Rail, and then by 1974, we were playing at the Armadillo World Headquarters, and we played every little club in this whole area, and we were doing original material back then when there wasn't. People had it, but they played a lot of dance music, and the Doak Snead Band was very undanceable in the early days because we were a folk band, and we added some drums and horns and steel guitar, and we got to play the big stage in the Armadillo, and that was probably, I don't know what time, probably fall of '74, I guess. Well, the music scene when I first came to Austin was a very eclectic situation. There were a lot of hard rock bands like the Electromagnets and people like that, and Shadowfax and some of those bands. But the bands that were in the, say, progressive country were someone like Cedar Frost, Doug Harmon, Bill Gossett, and Lumpy Holland, and of course you had Frida and the Fire Dogs, and I got the impression back in those days, they were basically a dance band, and that they did a lot of copy stuff. But I found out later that Bobby Earl was a good writer, and had a lot of stuff out there. But Greasy Wheels was already in progress, and shortly after the Doak Snead Band got here, we became kind of connected with a place called Cherry Street Inn, and we opened up for Billy Joe Shaver and Sleep the Wheel. I became pretty good friends with Ray Benson, and I got to know Billy Joe later. But we played all the clubs around. I can't remember the ones down on 6th Street, but did a cool show with Willie at the Ritz Theater. And we played with John Prine at Hog Auditorium on the UT campus, and there was all kinds of venues. And the parks would have concerts, and that would be paid by the union. The union would pay you money to go play one summer afternoon. So there was plenty of spots to play, and we were just a tad limited, but it was only because we didn't have any drums. And there was a place called Shakey's up at about 28th or something, and I don't know what it is now, but it was just a Shakey's pizza parlor. Mr. Threadgill played there, and all the bands played there. So we did a lot of gigging around here. Austin is near and dear to my heart, and those days are near and dear to my heart. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, it was always funny. You'd play your dates to where you'd basically get. So when we played at the Split Rail, we had a 5-piece band, and he hired us every Friday for the summer, and he paid us $100, and so we got $20, and that was about the only one we got paid. Most people back in those days played bands that were unknown like us about 15 or 20 a man, and that's what we lived on. Of course, you had your old ladies working, and they'd work at Arby's or somewhere, or eventually get to the Armadillo, and that always helps. There was always a good gig or two. You get paid a good gig. I remember we did some sort of a benefit for Lloyd Doggett at one point, and I got tickled. We go there and eat, and they give you food. When it's all over, the Doak Snead Band's going around getting the shrimp off people's plates and putting in their pockets. Not really, but we always try to get the extra. Y'all got any extra shrimp left? Yeah, no, that was good. It was a lot different and more laid back. I think much more hippified than now, and the long-haired guys with playing country music was a brand new thing, and it opened up so many avenues for the music that followed it. Do you call it folk music? I mean, do you call it folk rock, or do you call it progressive country or redneck rock? I don't know what you call it. But that whole scene was very, very easy going for those days. Yeah. When I was in high school out in West Texas, I was about 17. I'd been playing guitar, and I had a nice little K guitar that my mom bought me, and we went to I wanted to go see my cousins up in Fort Worth, and they were in their 30s. My cousin was, and he and his wife, and they were really involved with a club called the Rubaiyat. And the Rubaiyat was a premier folk club in Dallas, and everybody played there. Michael Murphy, Ray Hubbard, Bill and Bonnie, B.W. Stevenson, probably leaving someone out, but they were trying to figure out who was playing that weekend I was there. Of course, I was a tad too young, but to get in the door, I think. But they were reading it off, and they read off so and so, so and so. They said, "Oh, it's Steve Fromholz. He's a Texas guy." And I mean, that's the first time I ever heard his name. In those days, everybody was everybody was wanting a record deal, you know, and you noticed that. You noticed all around Texas, you know, you saw ZZ Top, you saw somebody like J. Boy Adams, and so you would notice when somebody got a major record deal. And I remember it. I don't remember too much about it other than like, wow, that's Fromholz, you know, and you go like, that's cool, you know. It's a major label, and that caught every songwriter's attention back in those days. You know, of course, that was even before people could put CDs and albums out on their own. So, yeah, it lit up a little light that you recognized as something new and fresh happening. Record deals were hard to come by in those days. A major label, there were foreign labels coming over, some labels from Sweden, and they came to Armadillo looking for artists, and they kind of toyed around with doing something on the Doak Snead band, but that never happened. But you know, there was that phase where after, you know, apparently the Giesenslaw brothers were the first guys, and so I don't remember that, but the first guys I wasn't even here, I don't think. They were the first guys to come out with a major label deal, and Fromholz was out there at the forefront. Well, you hear, finally Rusty Weir finally got a record deal, but that was a long time later. And Greasy Wheels actually had a record deal, and of course Sleep to Wheel, they came to town with one, I think. You know, I mean, Ray, you know, he brought that whole ensemble out here, and those guys were hotter than Robert's Pistols. Of course Jerry Jeff, and Willie and you know, some Willis Adam Ramsey, you know, some of those guys, they got good deals, and after that, other bands and other artists, they begin to trickle down with record deals, which I finally got one. I thought I was never going to get one, and you know, when you finally get one, you're like, yeah. So that's where Austin's been a little bit behind, I thought, everything. I mean, regardless of how Austin feels about it, even today, I think you still have to kind of make a trip through Nashville to get in the record business. So, but who knows? I never did play the Checker Flag. I did a little audition there one time with me and T. Gosney Thornton. We had a duo back in those days, and we auditioned for Rod and Alan Dameron, and but we never did get a gig there. It closed down before we ever got back down here. At Soap Creek, I played 2 or 3 times. We were a little reticent for that spot, but first place we ever played was a Hungry Horse. That was can't remember exactly where it was, but we opened up, the first time I ever came to town, we opened up for Rusty Weir. Paid us $15 to drive from San Angelo and down here. But it was pretty cool. Yeah, there were some pretty good joints back in those days. I mean, I was very, we were blessed to get right in with the split rail when Doak Snead Band came to town. They put us right in there and actually paid us money, which we got in good with those University of Texas program directors too. So that was good too.